What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video today. Is going to be a bit of an extension on the video from yesterday where we talked about free agents that the Colts have in their building that they should or shouldn't pay to bring back into their building, right? We talked about that yesterday. And today I want to talk about what the Colts could do to maximize their cap strategy, maximize cap space so that they can get other guys in free agency, right? Because with what we talked about, Colts are going to end up with $19 million, roughly $19 million in cap space. Where I'm going to start here is trying to trade Kwity Paye, whose cap hit is $4.341 million. So it's not a whole lot, but it is something. And it's also something that with his age, you could get some decent draft capital out of. Now, he's also going into last year of his deal. Somebody else is going to have to pay him. But Kwity Paye probably not going to be a really expensive defensive end, in my opinion. So, they could end up getting a decent haul back for Kwity Paye if they were able to trade him before the draft. And then you go into the draft, even more set up. You can draft another defensive end, which is something that I think they probably should do anyways. No matter what they do this offseason, I think that drafting a defensive end is a good idea, right? And you look at what else the Colts are doing, because why do I think we should trade Kwity Paye? Obviously, going into last year's deal, let's get some value for him. I don't think we should re-sign him anyways. Go ahead, get some value for him as long as you possibly can. And we have Samson Ebicom on the other side of Kwity Paye, who's been good. Dio Dangbo looked so good as the year went on last year. I think Dio Dangbo needs to be the starter. You have Dio on one side, Samson on another, DeForest Buckner, and somebody else in the middle. And I think that defensive line right there is going to wreak havoc, right? But then if you want to have a rotation, the rotation is what becomes a problem. Like if you end up drafting a guy, if we drafted a defensive end in the first round, he was a stud pass rusher, right? It was just a different kind of animal coming out of the draft. Then you're looking at a place where Kwity Paye ends up as a rotational guy. But even still, there's always going to be that world where it makes sense to have Kwity Paye as a rotational piece, even if Dio is starting. Just make Kwity Paye, one of the backups and having him be a rotational piece. He'd be a good rotational piece for sure. Coming off the bench, being more fresh. He's good in the run game. You could have him be a situational kind of guy. But again, I just think that in the Colts situation with where they're at, I think they would be better served getting value back for Kwity Paye and then going in the draft and getting a guy. Okay, now we mentioned yesterday, again in the video yesterday, about Tyquan Lewis and how we shouldn't bring him back. But I also said that, that one's kind of up in the air because I think if trading Kwity Paye is an option here, if trading Kwity Paye is possible or likely, then I think Tyquan Lewis should be brought back to be one of those rotational pieces, right? You get Tyquan Lewis back in the building on a cheap contract. You get a draft pick or two in the draft and continue to have competition for the backup roles, right? The Colts drafted defensive ends last year. If they draft a couple more this year, especially higher in the draft, that competition, then you're really going to figure out who the guys are that are going to be in your rotation. I think that's a valuable thing. I think that's valuable. So if you can go ahead and get value for Kwity Paye, I think trading Kwity Paye is something that the Colts should do. Okay, I also think that trading Rodney Thomas is something that the Colts should think about. And this one is only going to open up about $1 million in cap space. But I think if you can get even more draft capital for a guy that hasn't been perfect, but has had moments and also has experience and could fit into a defense and at least kind of, be able to understand things right off the bat, at least in some form or fashion. So I think that this is a move that could bring more value. It's probably not obviously going to net, a first rounder or even a second rounder. But I think anything you can get when you're talking about Chris Ballard and his team, one thing they're good at is drafting in the later rounds. So trading Rodney Thomas and giving those draft picks to Chris Ballard and his group, I think they can find something decent with that and maybe even add back to the rotation as safeties. Like even if that's all that is, you get rid of a defensive end so you can draft defensive end. You get rid of a safety so you can draft another safety. Like if that's the move, that's the move. You're trying to build this team and keep things as cheap as you can so that you can spend money elsewhere. Yeah, go get another rookie. Would that rookie presumably be as cheap as Rodney Thomas is? Maybe not. But even any late round rookie is not really going to be much more than what Rodney Thomas is making either. So I think Rodney Thomas probably going to lose his job, right? If again in the video yesterday, I said we should re-sign Julian Blackmon. So assuming we have Julian Blackmon and then Nick Cross is starting free safety, go ahead, get Rodney Thomas out of here. Let's figure something else out this offseason. It just can't be Rodney Thomas. He's, in my opinion, always been more of a liability than he is somebody who's going to consistently make plays for you. So if you can find a way to trade him, then go ahead and get him out of the building. And then the last guy that I think the Colts should trade to open up cap space, this is the one that really opens the door for some more moves to be made and the moves that I want to have happen. And this one's going to be trading Braden Smith. And I can't wait. After I upload this video, there's going to be people in the comments talking about there's no way we can trade Braden Smith. There's no way, bro. Yeah, we can. Because the argument, and if you've been watching all the videos, like you've heard me say this 1,000 times, and I'm sorry, but but just for the people that aren't, maybe you haven't seen my argument on this. If you look at Bernard Raymond in his rookie year, he was trash. The entire Colts team was pretty trash in 2022, but Bernard Raymond went into the 2023 offseason with the understanding, like, I know I have to get better at my craft. I know I have to get stronger. He worked on his body. He knew he had to work on his footwork. He knew he had to work on his handwork. He knew everything that he really needed to work on in the offseason, including making himself a bigger human being and making himself stronger and getting stronger through the offseason. Like, he understood the assignment. Bernard Raymond was really good. He wasn't perfect in his second season, but he was really good, especially looking from rookie season to second season. Incredible improvement by Bernard Raymond. So what I'm looking at here is the same thing from Blake Freeland from year 1 to year 2. Blake Freeland had to play a lot, whether it was left tackle or right tackle. He played a lot in his rookie season, and he clearly wasn't ready for it. But he also, for everything you could say about Blake Freeland, you have to say you had a rookie tackle that had to go against the likes of Myles Garrett and Josh Allen from the Jaguars. And there were other good pass rushers, right? Max Crosby, when we played the Raiders, Max Crosby, who normally lines up on the right side of that defense, was lining up on the left side of that defense because we had Blake Freeland in that right tackle, and Blake Freeland held it down, actually. So I think there's a lot of upside with Blake Freeland as long as he goes into the offseason with the same understanding that Bernard Raymond did, right? Needs to work on his body, obviously needs to get stronger, obviously needs to have better footwork, obviously needs to get better with his hands and figure out, hand placement and how to work with all that and body control from the outside position like that. But I think there's enough there where Braden Smith is a guy that struggles to stay on the field ever since he got big money. Like, just go ahead and trade him. Yes, Braden Smith is really good. Braden Smith will play through some injuries, but Braden Smith is just making too much money to play sometimes. Even for as good as he is, you can't have it, right? Can't win with it. Won't win with it. All right, going Mike Singletary on you. I am so dead set on the idea of trading Braden Smith that I don't know how other people don't see it, right? It's just you have to take everything into context, and I feel like there are just some people that hear me say trade Braden Smith, and they don't think about everything. Like, it's possible for players to get better and develop. Anthony Costanzo was trash for like 3 or 4 years. Ended up as one of the best left tackles in the league for the last half of his career. So in my opinion, I think we're in a position, again, we need to do more stuff. Okay. We can't just sign our own guys and that basically be it, then get a bunch of low tier guys. This team, if we're going to take that next step, this team needs some more star power at other positions. Okay. And we're going to talk about what stars we should bring in at what positions. Okay, those are going to be the videos over the next couple of days. So please make sure you're subscribed with notification on so you get notified when those videos do come out. I will love your opinion, not only on this video, of course, but on those as well. As we continue to go, we continue to talk about different players. Always going to want to know your guys' feedback and what you're thinking. Want to get the pulse of Colts Nation at all times. So again, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, so that we can continue these conversations. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.